Hello everyone, my name is Miguel. Welcome to my channel, Retro Stash Repairs. I got here today a Game Boy Advance that I recently bought from eBay, or I'm not sure where it was. I don't remember anymore, but it was listed as for parts. It has no batteries, and I'm going to be trying to repair it today. See if we can find what's wrong with it. And well, let's dive in. I'll first start by taking off the screws, and I can already tell it's missing some screws. I'm not sure if I took them out, because I also got a black one in the mail, so, or if they were already missing, I would have to look back at the listing. But if they're already missing, then I can tell already what this has been opened before already. So that might not be too much good news, but we'll take a look. On the screwdriver bit I'm using is a tri-wing. See if that pops open now. Yep, it did. I see right away the power switch is missing. Oh dang. I'm noticing something right away. I don't know if you can tell on camera. Yeah, you can. One of the pads is lifted off, so that's not great news. It's not the end of the world though, so, because theoretically I can just jump a wire from here to there. But I don't know if anything else is wrong with this. We're fixing to take a look at it, but since I know the power switch is missing, I'm gonna go ahead and take a look at that fuse. Take off the ribbon cable here. So I need to take off the screws to the motherboard. There's the main body. See, there's a little bit of corrosion, or a green tone to this pad. Not sure. Let's take a look at the board. No, the board looks good. This might not be the original board for this shell, but who knows. The triggers feel pretty decent, but let's start looking into this. I'm gonna get my multimeter out to look at this fuse right here, because that's a very common problem with the Game Boy Advances, and definitely the Game Boy Advance SP, and I fixed a significant amount of SP, so I know the F1 and then the F2 on the SP can blow sometimes, and even on the micro. my multimeter and check this. And on the multimeter, to check it, all you need to do is change it to continuity mode. On some multimeters, it'll have a continuity mode button, but this one doesn't, so it automatically changes to it, and it beeps if there's continuity or not on it. So look at that fuse right there. It's not, looks like it's not working, so I'll have to replace that as well. Go ahead and see if there's continuity from this point onto this point. Okay, there it is right there, but not on the other side of the fuse. Oh, the fuse is definitely blown. Set to the side. Go ahead and start with that fuse. Get it swapped over and then go from there. Prepared a little piece of cardboard just so I won't burn anything. Then here I got some fuses already. I already got a few things out. So you never know what to expect with these retro consoles. Some of them can be pretty old, corroded, and whatnot. So it's somewhat like a gamble. So, but in that case, I already got a few things out, a few components for GBAs, extra power switches, this coil part. I'm not sure what this part is again. I don't think it's like a transformer. I think it's just like a coil. But I mean, if you know the exact name, I mean, on the board it says L1, but the type of component it is. And since I'm not a professional, I've just learned how to fix these and a few other things, but I don't know the right terminology. And this I know for sure is a transformer. I know works, but power switch. We'll see what all needs to be fixed. And also have a few extra parts. I mean, I have a couple of donor boards as well, and I have the extra capacitors and things like that. So if we do find something, I most likely will have the part. What I might not have, oh well, I don't have to worry about it either way because it's a 32 pin ribbon cable. Because I know there for the GBAs there's 32 pin and 40 pin, and on the other underside there's an extra component over here on the 40 pins, and I don't really have too much of those, but in this case I don't really have to worry about it since it's 32 pin. So take it off fuse, and these things are very tiny, so you wouldn't want to lose it. That's how tiny it is. You can compare the size to your finger, and I might have already lost it. It kind of slipped off the tweezers. Oh, there it is. That's extremely tiny. But yeah, I have fuses for GBAs and fuses for SPs. First things first, I'll remove the blown out one first and then install the new one, which will be a lot faster if I remove it with the hot air. Add a little flux. go. Added some more light so we can see a lot better. There it goes. It's gonna focus. There's the old fuse. There's the new one right here. That's pretty dirty now. I think I'll give it a little clean with IPA first and a cotton swab. There's a few areas on this board that seem a little dirty. I'll clean that later on as well. Over here, there's some, I'm not sure what that is. They might have spilled something on this board, but I mean, overall it looks really decent. From what I can tell so far is that, you know, they removed the power switch, probably to use it on another console. They probably couldn't figure out what was wrong with it, but I don't know if they just didn't know about the fuse problem. I'm not sure. We'll continue looking into it. Go ahead and add more flux. I have to turn down the airflow on the hot air station. If not, it's gonna blow away that fuse. Take a closer look at it. That looks pretty good. If not, I'll retouch it with the soldering iron. It looks like it's on there, but just to be extra sure. Just waiting for my soldering iron to heat up. Put it at 380. Now give it a little clean with IPA and test it out. Get my multimeter back out. Yeah. Cool. So it has a working fuse now. Now onto the power switch, which is going to be the tricky part, because after installing it I'm going to have to run a wire to the actual pin on the power switch from here to there, because I know, I mean, since I've already worked on these before, I know this pad right here usually runs to this component. Add some flux. And the power switch I'm using is originally from an SP, but I mean, it fits almost perfectly on there. It's essentially the same switch. The only difference is that the GBA ones, the little, you know, switch, the actual switch plastic part on there, it goes, it's like a little longer and goes downwards a little bit, but they both work, you know, one on the other still. And recently I've seen that they've been selling some aftermarket replacement switches where it comes with like a small PCB and the power switch is like super tiny. And it doesn't surprise me that they removed it, since, you know, these power switches are pretty hard to find nowadays, and if you do find one, it's pretty crazy expensive just for one power switch. We'll go ahead and put this on there. Okay. Solder the ends, and now get to this middle one, the one that's missing a pad. That looks like it's on there pretty good now. So what I'm going to use, I'm not sure if I have some wire with me. I need to go get that real quick. Alright, I'm back. Went to go get some wire. This is some, solid copper wire for certain things where it's going to be going on top of other traces or all that. And I use some special wire with like a thin, what would you call it, like a plastic, where it protects it from shorting with other parts of the board. But this one's gonna be short, not really interfering with anything else. So what I'm gonna do is pre-tin the copper wire with a little bit of solder. And essentially what I'm going to do, solder this in first, cut it, and then just bridge it to this second pin on the power switch right here. There we go, it's pre-tinned. Probably add a little more solder to this part as well. Accidentally moved the camera. Connect that wire. Without touching anything else, like the pin right next to it. Yeah, it looks like it's pretty solid on there. So now just cut it. Try not to cut too short or too long. That should be good enough to make contact once I put more solder on there. You guys can see that. It's right next to it, but that should be good enough where I add the solder, it makes contact. What I'm going to have to do is hold this end though. So I might cut a tad bit off and then just put it on there. Add some flux first. Try not to drain too much of the flux around the power switch. If not, it'll get inside the switch itself, and that won't be good for the switch. Then the switch won't work. At least not well. Cut a tad bit off. Hold that wire into place. I'm not sure if that was good enough. I need more solder. That will do. Just get the area a little clean and then test it out with the multimeter. Now on this power switch, I wouldn't really have to clean it unless some flux got on there, but the power switch itself, I know it works, so it should work. Now if the board itself still doesn't work, then that means something else is going to be wrong with it, which I'm hoping it's not. My multimeter again. Test it out. Yeah, there's continuity on the switch. see if there's the continuity goes to all the way to this wire over here. Yep, it does. Let's see if it goes all the way to the other side. Yep. So there, I know this component should be good, as well as the fuse, the power switch, everything. All right, cool. Let's go ahead and retest it and see how it does now. Now I'm not gonna put it complete back together just yet. What I like to do is put it on the back part. Some screws fell out. What I like to do is put it on the back side of the shell. Then put the batteries on. Make sure that they're the right way. Alright, well, moment of truth. Well, there I can see the switch was already on, so dang it. Yeah, it's not turning on. I don't know if you are seeing this, but the light switch seems to be flickering. Hey, the speaker kind of did something there. No, yeah, it can't be the power switch. I just tested it. There's continuity going through it. Of course, there is one time where I did, check a power switch for continuity, and there's continuity, but for some reason, after taking it out and switching it out, it worked. I guess the switch was dirty enough where the multimeter detected it, but I guess it just wasn't pushing power through. I don't know. Sometimes you get weird situations when working on these, especially for how old these are. I mean, can't really be the flux around here. I mean, this board looks very clean. There's really no corrosion anywhere. I do remember having instances where the transformer didn't work, and if that, is shot or doesn't work, or just, it's a broken transformer, or it just doesn't work anymore, then the Game Boy's not going to power on. So I might look into that before trying to trace all the leads from the power switch, the battery terminals, and all that. That would take a lot longer. So if it is this, I do have an extra one. I've tested that part before. Here's the one we were just trying to fix. And I got an extra board that I know works here. Just to show y'all how I usually check that transformer. And there we go. I don't know if y'all guys heard of it there, switch. does have low sound, which might be the capacitor or something else, but I haven't had the time to look into that right now. But I know it works and plays fine. But right now what I'm going to be showing is how to test this out. And on this I don't put it on continuity mode, because it, you know, that doesn't really beep anywhere. So what you do is put it on voltage. Needs to focus in. Okay, there we go. You put it on voltage, and I don't know if y'all guys can see, but on this side there's 2 wires that go into the transformer, so I usually check those 2, and then there's 4 on this side. There's 4 on this other side. You know, I just, usually check around. I'm not 100% sure on exactly what I'm doing, but I just know this works when I always check it like that. So then it's off. I check the pins on each side. I usually check these 2, and then this third one with the other wire. This third one down. And of course it's gonna have 0 reading right there, like it is. Y'all can see over here when it's off. And then switch it on. There, it's on. The light's on. Now look. See if we get some reading. Reading to that pin as well. And reading on all these 4. I'm not sure if these 2 pins over here don't matter much, because there's no reading on those. So I'm not sure if they're just ground or what, but there's nothing on there, so that doesn't really matter too much. There's no tiny wire that runs through them. But the third one and the first one get a reading, and on this one all these 4 get a reading as well. Alright. So that was just to demonstrate on one that does work, and we're fixing to find out what the other one does. On the one we're actually trying to attempt to repair. The multimeter right there. I know for sure since the power switch is off, there's going to be no reading through. Alright, now let me switch it on. It made a little bit of sound like it wanted to turn on. Right, let's check these 2. There is a reading. It's really low on this one. Yeah, there's... Okay, that's weird. There's... I'm not sure if there's going to be a problem with this one, or if their transformer itself is going to be broken. But let's look at that third pin, a closer look. That focus in there. I'm just now seeing it. Okay, that's very weird. Because see that wire there? It's connecting to it, and that's the one that didn't have a reading. But now I'm looking at this one. I wonder if this wire right here is kind of loose. Oh yeah, that's definitely loose. I barely touched it, so. Oh man, I don't know. I mean, I can maybe try to solder it back. I'm not sure if I'll be able to or not. I might be able to. It looks long enough. Try to pull it a little bit, being careful and gentle not to pull it too hard and break it. But I might not have to replace this after all. Well, I'm just gonna try to solder it back on there and see if that fixes it. That'll be great news, because then I won't have to use another one. I can only hope. So let's do that. But you know, that was very weird, because I was getting a reading on this first one, but not on this third one. Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on there, but yeah, it's pretty weird. Because I mean, I'm not sure what these pins do exactly. I just try to test things out, and if there's something irregular about it, then I know I should look into it. And maybe a broken part. And what I usually do is just replace them, and on the ones that I fixed them because of this part, when I replace them, then it works after that. But because I doubt, you know, it's due to corrosion or anything. When there's nothing on the board, it's very clean. But I can only hope. Worst case scenario is, since this fuse was blown, who knows how much this was messed with, or what happened to exactly that it blew the CPU, and that'd be game over for this board. But yeah, I'm hoping for the best. In that case, then this would be a donor board. But which is the worst case scenario when working with this. Alright, we'll try to solder that tiny wire on there and see what happens after that. Put a little bit of flux. It's really hard to see that wire on camera. It's on there on top. be right on the plastic. Let's just add some solder and see what happens. I'm not sure if that's grabbed onto it yet. I knew it was going to be pretty difficult since that wire is so tiny. Okay, no, it's just floating. Try to pull it again. I'm not even. Okay, there we go. I think that grabbed on. We'll just go ahead and check it with the multimeter. Sorry if I go out of frame all of a sudden. It's kind of hard to try to look at such a small thing and work on it at the same time. On now there, I put on continuity, and I'm gonna try to touch the wire and the pad and see if it's connected now. Not really getting anything. Let's try to move it with the tweezer, see if it did grab on. Yeah, that wire staying put. It's not moving around anymore. Just giving it a clean, see if that makes a difference. Ah, there you go. There's continuity now. Yeah, so it's connected to that wire. Let's go ahead and test it out real quick. See what happens. back in. Moment of truth. See what it does. It's still not working. It turned on now, but wonder if the power switch does need cleaning. Might have to look under the power switch. What I'm thinking is maybe this power switch was one I removed that needed to be cleaned, and I never cleaned it. But now I'm gonna have to try to remove it, because see, there's continuity there. There's no continuity anymore. Huh. Oh no, there is. Let's see if there's continuity here. Well, that's weird. So it did turn on once. That's very weird. I'm just gonna have to remove this and see if it's at all dirty. And then I use some copper wire wick to remove solder. Dang, it just stayed on there, didn't it? I have no idea why, but my soldering iron cooled down, but yet it was hot enough to melt it, to melt the solder. Try to remove as much solder as I can with this. Now for the other side. Cut some of this off. what I like to do to check these, or to remove them, either to check them or to clean them, is just remove the solder from each thin, and then use an X-Acto blade on each side, carefully prying these off, you know, being careful without ripping off the pads or anything each side. Then take this metal aluminum frame off, the cap off. That way you won't have to remove off the whole switch. For sure the easiest way is to use hot air and remove the whole thing, but I found in doing that you start to melt this power switch plastic. There goes one side. There goes the other. Dang, that kind of slipped far. Hopefully I didn't damage any traces over here. Let's go ahead and check that before. Oh, wait, the power switch is off right there. Go figure. It does seem a little sticky, so I wonder if it just got dirty with that flux. Yeah, still works. I didn't really cut part of the trace right there, at least by the looks of it. But now, same X-Acto blade, pop each end off like that. You want to be careful. You don't want to pull all of a sudden and then start pulling these off. You'll rip off the traces. And there's already one trace missing on this board. I wouldn't want to make it worse than what it is. There it goes. It's off. I should have probably looked into this prior to the video or something. No, the switch itself looks clean. What I'm doing right now is just lifting these up a little. Maybe they weren't making good enough contact or something. These tiny little pins under the power switch, which I like that this one has two on each side. There's some where you open them up and they have only one tiny little one. And that's very easy to break. Go ahead and get a little scrub. And what you would normally do, usually you open a bunch of these up and it's like full of crud, or it's just black and very, very dirty. And you just kind of scrape that off a little bit and then clean it with some IPA, and that usually does the trick if the main problem is, you know, a dirty power switch, which in a lot of the cases, a lot a lot of, Game Boy consoles, that's many times the main problem. But I'm gonna go ahead and clean up the whole area with IPA again. Dry that off a little bit with another cotton swab. Now just put it back together. Hopefully that does a trick. It would have been a lot easier if I would have checked this first from the start. You can see there's a little bit of stickiness on top right here. Like I was saying, checking this before I even put it on, but it didn't even cross my mind. I thought it was a power switch I've already removed and cleaned, and it actually looked like it was, but I don't know, maybe it just got dirty again with the flex, or like I said, those pins probably had gotten pushed up over the time and just needed to be pulled down or up, whichever way you're looking at it. Put that back on. Now what I like to do is get a little piece of flux off. I mean solder. My bad. Now I'm putting some flux on. Sorry, I'm just mixing up my words. It's getting a little late, but I should be almost done with this. At least I'm hoping so. The reason why I like to take off that, cut off a little bit of that solder is so I can push it down with the tweezers with my other hand. Same thing with the other side. Flux area. Now I'm going to give it one last clean. Cross my fingers, it works now. Check and see if everything still works as it should. Yep. This side as well. Probably gonna wait a few minutes to air dry this, and then check it again with the batteries. Alright, well, I'm back now. It's been a couple minutes, but it looks dry enough. We'll go ahead and test this out. One last time, hopefully. There we go. Yes, finally. Yep. It has now consistent power. It's turning on every single time. No flickering, no nothing. So this worked after all. What I want to test is what kind of reading am I getting now from the voltage on here. Remember on the working one, you know, there was a reading on both of these pins, and on this third one, on this one before I fixed that wire, there was no reading. Yet there was reading on the first one even though it wasn't connected, which was very weird. Let's see what it does now. There's a reading on it. That's a pretty low reading. There's actually, it's a lower reading, so now at least I know it's doing something different. Let's see if there's continuity on the, or a reading on this third one. Yeah, it's around the same reading. Let's check it with something else. Oh wait, that's why it's so low, it's not even on. Okay, now there's a higher reading, 2.5. I mean, that's probably how much it was before. Let's check this third one. And there was like hardly any or no reading on this one before. Okay, now there is. So I wonder if these two wires connect somehow. Ah, they do. So now I know next time I can also check continuity from this pin, from this pad to this pad. See, I learned something new as well. But of course, knowing that, you know, there was no reading, which is very weird why there was reading on this one in the first place. Maybe it connects somehow to this side somewhere else on the board itself, on the PCB, but there's no reading to this pin because, you know, it connects. There's continuity on those, which is weird. There usually isn't, but yep. Well, now I know to, check the readings to each side. If there's something off like there was today, then it might be the transformer. Which I was lucky I was able to see that, that tiny little wire was out of place, or it looked out of place, but then I tried to move it and yeah, it was completely loose. So that fixed that, and pretty glad I didn't have to replace it. So mostly everything was on there except for the power switch was missing and the fuse, but they're really cheap. So now I'm just gonna put it back together. I'm hoping the screen works, because that could be another issue. The buttons, all that. Figure out where I left all the screws at. Here's one of them. Another thing to note is that there's usually a third screw right here too, and that's missing. Not too much of a problem, as long as there's one on each side to hold the board. Should be all good. Go ahead and connect the ribbon cable screen. It looks kind of dirty, but I'll go ahead and test it out. Shoulder buttons back on. I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, everything's there. Make sure it's lined up right. Alright, it's in place. Now this was missing screws, but we just need enough to hold the back part in place. Like another one over here. Thought I saw another one. Nope. I see one that's from the middle. Which this It's just already on the table. Must have forgotten it from somewhere else. Oh well, then that should be good enough for now. Put the batteries into place. Test this out. Oh yes. Well, screen works. Sound works. Let's pop a game in. I'm gonna use Super Mario World Advanced 2. Check for buttons and gameplay and all that. Yes. The Nintendo logo is, that means it's reading the game, and of course it's the older original screen on there, so you can barely see it. The L button's working, the R button's working, side buttons are working. The D-pad up and down is working. Yeah, and the A and the B are working as well. Start's working. Select button is working as well. So yeah, fully working Game Boy Advance now. So that's pretty much it. I hope y'all liked today's video, and I'm really happy with how this turned out. It fully works now. And if y'all like the video, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and share as well. And if there's anything else you'd like to see, just comment below, and make sure to click on that bell subscribe button. Thank y'all guys very much, and see you next time.